Based in their hidden fortress Alamut, the Western vampires view this clan as dangerous assassins and diablerists. In reality though, this clan views themselves more as guardians, warriors, scholars, and they've actually tried to distance themselves quite a bit from the jihad. Throughout their very long history, they have been pretty independent and very proud of it until recently when they've had to join the Camarilla. I am talking about Banu Haqim. Sometimes known as the Assamites, but don't call them that because they don't particularly like it. This clan had a very strong focus on itself. Anytime they sent their assassins out, it was to gain blood or alchemical components for their own purposes, their own research. They weren't very big fans of sharing is caring. The sorcerers of Banu Haqim were gathering resources to try to break their blood curse. The blood curse, or the simple version of the blood curse of the Tremiere, was a curse that was placed on the Banu Haqim by the Tremiere, and this happened at the Treaty of Tyre. Now, the Treaty of Tyre came around near 1493, 1496, depends on which version you're looking at. The simple version is the Camarilla and the Assamites were in open war with each other, and this was a peace deal that happened after 10 years of violent warfare. The Camarilla agreed to cease all hostilities, and the Assamites also agreed to do the same thing, but because they were known to be diablerists, or at least that's what the rumor was, they were also given the blood curse, which made vampiric vitae just poisonous to them. That's how this whole thing came about. And they were forbidden from being assassins anymore. They still did this in secret. As a whole, the Banu Haqim, or the Children of Haquim, they tried to keep themselves away or separated from the political sphere of other vampires, as I've mentioned. Part of this is just simply because of their geography. When you're so far removed from all the other clans, it doesn't make a lot of sense to make a lot of effort to get involved, especially when it's an inconvenience for you. This was the general attitude until travel became such an easy thing. But the biggest reason that they don't involve themselves in the affairs of any of the other vampire clans is simply because they think they're better than all of them. There's a certain superiority that seems to come with being part of the Children of Banu Haqim. In most cases, they don't feel that they need to resort to politics to get their own goals or get their own aims. This does not mean that they are not good at playing the game if it absolutely came down to it. Many of the clan's viziers are especially good at this political game. But the clan as a whole is more prone to taking the easy option or the least complicated option. One of the drawbacks to this for the clan is they have no political skill. They have no great allies. They have no deep-seated enemies, which is a good thing, but when you don't have allies because you haven't been playing the game, you haven't made your friends or your enemies this way, it's really easy for an Assamite to get taken advantage of this way. They are just simply not as practiced at it as many of the other kindred because they've been doing it for millennia. The Children of Haquim do have a council. They do have a ruling body. They have several of them. The Council of Scrolls was in charge of finding new technologies, going out into the world, bringing them back, learning how to integrate it into Haquim society. The Council of Duat, they were responsible for setting clan policy, as well as finding leaders for each of the castes of Haquim society. The Caliph was in charge of the warrior caste, the Amir for the sorcerer caste, and the Vizier for the vizier caste. I will have more on all of these coming up. As we go a little deeper into the Haquim history, if you're enjoying yourself, please let me know by hitting that thumbs up button. And if you want to get more videos like this for myself, then please hit subscribe with the bell notification. We must please YouTube's dark magic system. When Western civilization began to make its appearance, or rise up, if you will, when that happened, the Banu Haqim had a bit of a collision course with society. This was around the height of the Persian dominance. When I say Western world, I mean things like Rome. Up until this time, the Banu Haqim had only had short, brief encounters with just a few of the vampire clans: the Bruja, the Ravnos, the Setites, and the Tzimisce. As Rome expanded and the Byzantium Empire grew, vampires also moved along with them. The Vampire Society did try to rule over the humans and take control of what it was that they were building, which was a very complex society. The vampires, the Cainites, they simply underestimated what humankind was capable of. The Banu Haqim, they kind of drifted through the Roman society as time progressed. They didn't rock the boat. There was no significant impact on the rise or fall of Rome when it comes to the Banu Haqim. They largely just contracted their services out as bodyguards, as scholars, not only to the Roman society, but also to the Ventru and the Malkavians. After the destruction of Carthage, the Banu Haqim, they gave up on the city. They were not a big fan of the political web and just the complexities of this particular empire. It wasn't for them. They were, however, more interested in the Persian Empire, which was growing in the east. And the Banu Haqim, they actively encouraged this Parthian growth in the area, which eventually took over Mesopotamia. This new home represented different things to several members of the clan, but it all brought them to the same place. Some saw it as a promised land where they could satisfy their hunger, whether that was for battle, blood, learning. Others enjoyed it simply because it wasn't chaos. It was at this point in history that the children of Haquim, they integrated themselves into society and they actively protected this part of the land because the Romans tried to come in, but they kept them out. Parthia became very important to the children of Haquim, and they made the decision to actively protect it, which meant that they actively fought against the vampires that tried to come in from Rome. Fast forwarding to the more modern days of the vampire setting, the blood curse was actually broken around 1998. Ur-Shulgi, I think I'm pronouncing that one right, was a direct descendant or a direct child of Haquim himself. He was asleep or in torpor for about 18 centuries, but when he woke up, his extreme and powerful command of magic allowed him to undo the blood curse. It took him about a week. Once the Banu Haqim or the Assamites were free to drink vitae, they went on a binge, and that's why many of the Assamites are addicted to blood now. In short form, this event was known as the Schism. There is much to cover with this particular topic, so if you want to see another video around that, just let me know in the comments below. The Assamites, they split during this particular event. Ur-Shulgi demanded that they go back to some pretty extreme laws laid down by the original Haquim. And Ur-Shulgi was really not nice to anyone who worshipped any gods other than Haquim, which was very bad news for some of the Muslim Assamites. This caused the Banu Haqim to split. The viziers and sorcerers, they went to the Camarilla, and the warriors, they went to the Sabbat. And some Banu Haqim, they just left entirely. They gave a big old middle finger to all the sects and said, we're gonna go do it ourselves. In the V5 timeline, as things have come out of the 20th century or the 20th anniversary edition, the Ashira have formed some alliance with the Camarilla. This was out of self-preservation because they wanted to stop the aggression from the Sabbat. This is how we get the Banu Haqim name, and it changes from Assamites. The Banu Haqim, who now worship Ur-Shulgi, they've turned their back on their previous religions, and many of the vampires or Cainite society view them as their undoing, simply because they've gone back to mass diablerie. And this is very, very scary to the rest of vampire kind. The children of Haquim have always thought that their founder was the judge of all vampires. And many, no matter where they are in vampire society right now, still maintain this. The Banu Haqim have gone on to position themselves into modern society with many of their contacts or those that they have significant sway or power over. They are in positions of power, police force, security force. Some are even in organized crime. If other clans are looking to take out a specific target, then you need to talk to one of the Banu Haqim's contacts because they will use the law or illegal other means to have a mortal silenced. Now, as I mentioned, there are 3 castes of Banu Haqim, and I'm going to talk about them, but it's important to know that no matter which line you are, they are considered Banu Haqim, but each line functions as if it was its own clan. A warrior will make warrior childer. A vizier will have a vizier childer, and a sorcerer, well, you get the idea. Sorcerers are perhaps the second most recognizable of the clan. They claim to have a significant mastery over blood magic because they have been practicing it for a very long time, like going back to the Second City. The sorcerers' magics, they go back to their Mesopotamia and Persian times. They stem from some of those rituals, but now they include some of the more modern religions. A sorcerer will usually send themselves into some kind of altered consciousness to practice and focus their magic. This can come in many forms: drugs, getting yourself into some kind of trance, self-flagellation, or any other method that seems to work for this particular sorcerer. They also have their own internal hierarchy, which is arranged by age and prestige. The Vizier caste are the least known type of Banu Haqim. They are also the oldest, at least according to the Vizier themselves. Viziers are scholars and artisans. Where a Toreador can get lost in contemplation, a Vizier can get lost in explosive creativity. Viziers pursue artistic perfection and knowledge, basically like it's a fetish. They do tend to be quite isolated, and they do tend to have a lot of obsessive compulsive, which goes along with some of their tendencies and their creative pursuits. The Viziers will also organize themselves by age and prestige in their clan, at least when it comes to their hierarchy. Now, the Assamite Antitribu, they look like just about everyone else in the Banu Haqim. They're probably the most easily recognizable. They are definitely way more accepting of those who want to join their ranks than some of the other ones that I've mentioned. Assamite Antitribu are the primary assassins for the Sabbat. They do not go for the blood of their elders because they are free of the blood curse. They don't diablerize their own sect. What they do instead, which makes much more sense, is every 100 years they ritually sacrifice the eldest one in their clan, and they do a ritual blood draining sacrifice and they drink the elder's blood. The reason this is important is because the elder, or whoever takes on this, completes this ritual, and they drink this blood in this ritual sacrifice. Now, the blood of the La Sombra is a third generation vampire. This is why they do that. They keep that line continually running because they just literally pass down the blood in the sacrifice. If you're going to blend werewolf into your vampire game, I would specifically say that the Banu Haqim would work very well with the Naga. Most of the other Pharaoh consider Naga to be extinct. There are some known to the beast courts in the Henji-oke. The fact that they are believed dead works out entirely into the Naga's plan. They are also Gaia's assassins, and they function a little bit like secret police. Their job is to find those who have fallen to corruption and cut it out. Now, the Naga have a very strong affiliation with water. This shows in the fact that they have an aquatic snake form. And many of the spirits that work with the Naga, they will have ties to water as well. Similar to the Banu Haqim, the Naga are ruled by a single council which goes with the name of Sesha. Their job is to interpret the will of those who made them in the first place and lay down laws for the clan on how they are to operate. If you want to learn more about the Naga, I have a video on the screen now, as well as a playlist for the rest of the vampire clans that I have covered. Thank you for the support from all of my brand new patrons: Shane Loves Games, Kyle R., Dave Blenner. My name's Nathaniel. This has been the Maple Table. Thanks for stopping by, everyone.